Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. It's July 2017 and time for another layout update. So before we take a look at what I've been working on over the past month on the layout, these brand new Rocky Mountaineer Gold Leaf coaches came in. These are made by Rapido Trains Inc. So let's take a quick look at those. So these were commissioned by Rocky Mountaineer, the actual railway, by Rapido Trains to make them for Rocky Mountaineer to sell in their souvenir department. It's the only way you can get them. You can buy them directly from Rocky Mountaineer. I'll leave the phone number for Rocky Mountaineer that you got to get a hold of if you want to purchase these. You have to buy them directly from Rocky Mountaineer, either from the head office in Kamloops, or if you're actually riding the train. I think they sell them on the train. So those are the only two ways you can get them. And be prepared for sticker shock, because these are $189 Canadian each. So they're pretty pricey for a coach car. They are really nice though, so we'll just take a close look here at some of the detail. I do have a ton of LED lighting in these things. Let's power it up. They've got, looks like 5 LEDs along the top of the coach, and then also the lighting inside the car, which is pretty neat. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of lighted passenger cars anymore. I think I'd rather they just left them dark, because on the real thing, these windows are all tinted, so you can't really see in them anyway. And you only need the lights if you're running them at night, which I found on my old layout I almost never did. I think I did it once or twice. So, I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at with lighting on coaches. I don't think it's really necessary. There's a close-up of that lighted interior. Here you can see they've got the LEDs kind of at the top of the dome to light up the interior of the coach, but I don't know, I don't think I'm not really a huge fan of the lighting on these. It's just too bright. It's just way over the top. I'd rather they just had tinted windows and no lighting at all. That's just me personally though. I was just about to show you the rear end marker lights and they just literally just stopped working, so I don't know what's up with that. That kind of sucks. They don't come with one of those wands that Rapido has, so I'm not sure if they're actually directional or not, but I've been trying to get them to work and I can't get it to work, so that's kind of a bummer to figure out what's wrong with those. They do have them on each end, and this is the end that was working, the end that has the little observatory on the back. So I'm not sure if they're directional or what, but they don't come with the Rapido wand for switching the lighting like on the cabooses, so I am not sure. I'll have to follow up with that when I figure out what's wrong with it. So that's the new Gold Leaf dome car from Rapido Trains Inc. Definitely, I don't know, 189 bucks plus shipping. I don't think, if it wasn't for modeling both CN and CP and both the subdivisions I'm modeling, the Rocky Mountaineer runs on both, so if it wasn't for that, I don't even think I would have bought these, but because of that reason, I want to have the Rocky Mountaineer as a train on my layout, so there's nothing you can do but pay for them if you want them, right? They are a bigger car, like I get that, but I think Rapido and Rocky Mountaineer are both making pretty decent profit on these ones. They're almost 200 bucks for a single passenger car. That's getting pretty crazy if you ask me. Like I said, if you want to get your hands on these, the only way is to actually ride the Rocky Mountaineer and purchase it on board, or buy it directly from Rocky Mountaineer's souvenir shop, and it will come from Kamloops is where it's located. So, and when I say 189 bucks a car, that's Canadian, so you American guys, you get about a 30% discount if you buy it in US dollars, I think, right now. So just be aware of that. Just a quick look, this is the features that come with the car. Kind of an oddball from Rapido that there's no documentation in the box. Usually their stuff has quite a bit of documentation. I have absolutely nothing in the box with these ones besides the car itself and the packaging. So it says scaled from original blueprints, so they must have worked with Rocky Mountaineer, because these cars are unique. They were custom built to these Gold Leafs for Rocky Mountaineer. Interior lighting, working end marker lights, not on the one I have. Well, it was working and then it quit working. Detailed interior, trucks with disc brake detail and 18-inch minimum radius. 24-inch recommended. I've actually been using this to test my clearances on my reverse loop because they're a huge car. They're a little bit bigger than an auto rack, so it's pretty handy for doing that. And on the other side of the box, they've got a few interior shots of the Gold Leaf cars themselves, so that's kind of cool. There's a shorter Rocky Mountaineer train in Jasper Yard. You can see the Gold Leaf at the very end there. So that was the only new stuff I got in over the last months. Other than that, I've just been spending lots of time working on the reverse loop here. Mainly, so I've been putting the Tortoise switch machines in. I gotta get a couple more. There's 8 in total, 4 for each side. So in addition to getting the Tortoise switch machines installed and hooked up, I've also been getting the layout ready for wiring. All the feeders are dropped, and I've been putting the isolating gaps I need in because each one of these tracks is actually a reverse loop. So there's 5 reverse loops in total. So following Greg there from Fish Fate Films advice, as well as this website I've been leaning on pretty heavily called Wiring a Layout for DCC. I'll leave the link in my in the video description, but it's been very helpful in getting me kind of the good ideas to set this up for auto reversing. So taking that advice, the turnouts are all powered by the main bus, and then there's a section after the turnout frog also powered by the main bus, and then a feeder. So this is still part of the main line, and then this is where the reversing section begins, is where these isolating gaps are. So there's a feeder right there that will feed right to the Digitrax AR1, or if I decide to use Tam Valley or whatever the auto reverser is going to be. That way it has the shortest distance to travel, so that it can flip the polarity as soon as the trucks roll over that. So that's a lot of work getting all these. So it's an extra 2 feeders for each one. So you have to have main track bus here because the frogs are isolated. This is your main track bus feeders, and then you have to have a set of feeders for your reverse loops, and you have to do that on both sides. So that's 20 feeders just to do these isolating gaps, and then I have to cut the gaps too. So that's been a lot of work. So let's just take a close look at how I wired one of these to give you an idea. So here's our insulating gaps here. This is the first feeder that's going to go to the reverser. Here's our mainline section here, and there's the gap from the frog. So this is still mainline power, and there's the feeders that will be mainline power. I've also been using, like I was talking before, the frets from the Fast Tracks PC board ties. I've been using those as a tie themselves on these bigger gaps. I set the gauge with my NMRA track gauge and then solder them, so you have a really good at least one thing holding the gauge instead of just the filler ties. So I've just been doing that, trying to make the track work more bulletproof, because eventually this whole thing is going to be covered and access is going to be quite difficult, so I want to get it right the first time. There's a closer look at the insulating gaps. They're just 1/16 inch styrene held in place with CA glue. I let the CA glue set, and then I come back the next day, trim them and file them down, sand them, make them smooth. I wish I would have read a bit more up about doing the reverse loops before I started laying track, but that's sometimes that's just how I end up doing stuff. So it kind of sucks when you have to cut the insulating gaps in the flex track that's already laid, because you're taking a risk doing that. But I just use my Dremel with the small cutoff wheel. This cutoff wheel is, you can see it's about 1/16 of an inch, and it's cordless, so you can lay it down right on the track and then just quickly make your cut, and it works pretty good. On the next loop, I probably will just use insulating rail joiners. I think would be more reliable, and lay a short piece of track, put the insulating rail joiners, like cut the flex track, put insulating rail joiners, and then continue on laying track. I think that'd be the better way to go, just because the insulating joiners will hold the track gauge straight, and rather than relying on a piece of styrene that's glued in there. Still waiting on a couple more Tortoise switch machines. I got to put 2 more where those holes are there. And then I've got all the feeder wires have been soldered to the rail and have been dropped through. And there is a ton of them. Probably doing more than I have to. Like a lot of places I've read, you only need to put them every 6 feet if you use 18 gauge. But because this reverse loop will be very hard to access and make changes to afterwards, I put a feeder wire to every piece of rail. So every 3 feet on those pieces of flex track, and even the smaller pieces, they get a feeder too. Just to make sure I don't have any issues electrically going forward. Here's a quick visual for how many feeder wires that reverse loop took. So that's everything new on this side of the layout. So let's go take a look at the other side and check out what I've been working on over there. Kind of a weird looking locomotive here in the yard. I wonder where that came from. So the last layout update, I was talking about laying tracks on these curves and having difficulty avoiding kinks like this. And Jackson Railfan pointed out a really good idea of getting sweepsticks and doing it properly with the sweepsticks. They fit right inside the rail. So what I'm going to do is, as I go back and I'm filling in these gaps now that I've got the feeder wires in there, I'm going to slide the appropriate curve radius into the kink like that, and I'm going to use those big fat PC board tie frets that I've been using, and I'll solder one right in the middle of each kink, and that way that'll hold the gauge perfectly, and then I'll put the rest of the ties in and fill it in like that, and then I shouldn't have any kinks in my track work in the curves here on the reverse loops. So I went into my layout plan on any rail and I measured every single curve radius that I have to do on the layout, and I wrote them all down as a list. There's about, I don't know, 15 or so, I think, maybe a few more. But I've ordered every single one. I got all the different curve radiuses I need, and each one comes with 2 pieces to form the sweep stick. And that's more than enough for what I'm doing on the reverse loops and the curves, because you can just slide it as you lay the track down. So Jackson Railfan, thanks for the good idea, and this should really help me going forward with the other 3 reverse loops that I have to do. And I even got it for the main line too, like I got a 36 and a 38 to help me lay down those mainline curves as well. So over here on the other side of the layout, I got a huge mess going. I got more of that 3mm rubber, and I've continued on laying it down on my plywood subroad bed. And after doing a whole bunch of it and using Gorilla Glue like I was talking about in layout updates past, my friend pointed out to me, he said, why don't you try this stuff, this wall-based adhesive. It's literally for rubber. And I couldn't believe that I missed this when I was at Home Depot. You get it from Home Depot. It's not in the adhesive section. That's why I didn't find it. It's over in flooring. And this stuff, it literally says, strong initial grab for holding heavy rubber and wall base. So it's exactly what the stuff's for, and it works amazing. So I went from doing like 3 feet at a time and clamping everything flat to now I can do like 8-foot sections, and you just roll it onto the carpet roller and it sticks down and bonds to the rubber really good. So I had gotten to about here somewhere. I've done all the way up and around. You can see I'm coming around the curve on this side now. Marant's curve is done over there, and I'm continuing on. And on the other side, I was somewhere here, and now I've gone all the way. I'm on the back, very back wall now, and I get so much more done. So I'm really glad my buddy pointed that out to me, because this stuff is really safe. It goes a long way too. All of that was done with 1 tube, so I got to go get some more of this. I ran out. And I'm using my paper templates again to cut out the rubber, so they're coming in handy again. I don't have to do any guesswork. I just grab the paper template, mark it out on the rubber, cut it out, and then I have a piece that can go on the plywood. So I'm going to keep pushing ahead, laying down that 3mm rubber, and then I've also got a whole bunch of cork, so as I've run out of materials for the rubber stuff, I can go back and I'm doing cork now behind it. So slowly but surely the road bed's getting done, and then I'll be able to start bringing the track work out this way. So that's kind of exciting, getting out onto the main line and the actual scenic future scenic areas of the layout. So besides starting with the cork and continuing, I'm going to finish off wiring that reverse loop and be done with it once and for all. Just doing the track feeders on it now. So I've got one done and I got 4 more to do and I'll be done over there. So I'll be out on the main line working on the sub-roadbed. So that's kind of exciting. That's what I'm going to be up to over the next probably month and a bit. So that'll wrap up this layout update, guys. As always, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time.